flying in aircrafts? That's always the question for us. So I'm going to give some updates that have been happening in the Capitol with the Department of Transportation. At this point, we have two areas that they want to improve. One is going to take much, much longer. And the other one, they have a plan, but they don't have specific dates. So anytime you set up a goal, you have to have dates. But they are not going to put the dates in there because it's really going to be hard to push this through, I suppose. The law is there. The regulation is there. So they have the safe and accessible air travel. So regulation that they passed. So it's there. But, you know, they're going to have to do a few things before, you know, it all comes together. So they have a few pieces going for them. They have a couple of universities that are involved in the research of, you know, changing those bulkhead seats or maybe the back seats. I have no idea. Maybe both, hopefully. But this is the plan that they have. You know, Delta came out with a model, and they went to an exhibit and they showed it off and all that kind of stuff. So for right now, for Delta, they're happy with it. So my hope is that, you know, at some point that they will try their model, their seat, and see how it goes, and try to sell it to the other airlines. So that's one point. The other point is that the universities, the research are doing here in the United States, I think they're going slow. I'm sure they have some pretty good models. They've been working with it for a little while now, I think since 2022. So this is what it says right now for the seating issue. Air Carrier Access Act. So it's there. In the fiscal year of 23, the Federal Aviation Administration initiated a three-year research roadmap to investigate the feasibility of enabling passengers to stay in their personal wheelchairs while traveling on commercial aircraft. This research program builds on the U.S. Access Board and Transportation Research Board report on the feasibility of wheelchair securement system on passenger aircraft and may support potential future rulemaking. The research will evaluate occupant safety and crash worthiness aspect of installing wheelchairs on commercial aircrafts and the following goals in chronological order. Determines suitability of ISO RESNA, which I'm not sure what that stands for, but wheelchair standards as a basis of aircraft structural compatibility. Evaluate and identify candidate restraint systems and report an aircraft consideration necessary to utilize suitable restraint systems and wheelchair standards necessary for aircraft compatibility. So in chronological order, we'll see what happens. Again, you know, Delta is pretty happy with their model, and we'll see how it goes and what Delta does. And what Delta does could impact, you know, what other airlines might be interested in. So the DOT priority, the Department of Transportation priorities, you know, so the first one here, develop and advance a research roadmap building from the U.S. Access Board and Transportation Research Board report on the feasibility of wheelchair securement system on passenger aircraft to support future rulemaking. So the goal passengers can stay in their personal wheelchair on aircraft. A generational improvement in the equity, safety, and dignity of travel. So that is on the seats, and we have reported several times on this. So I know that in between they're going to try to do some retraining of the staff who have to load and unload our wheelchairs and see if they can start to tighten the rope on that, and to figure out, the picking us up and transferring us into aisle chairs and then back into the plane seat, which is pretty precarious. I won't let them pick me up. I have fibromyalgia. If they touch me and pick me up, I'm going to be in excruciating pain for the rest of the day, and I don't care to do that. So, So, here are some the other goals with the seat. Decrease the number of passengers with disabilities whose wheelchairs are damaged during air travel and are injured in transfer to and from the aircraft. So, yes. Passengers in wheelchairs can access lavatories on aircrafts. And that's going to be the second part of this video, because there are some new rulings on that. Decrease in frequency of incidents where passengers' civil rights are violated, an increase in equal access to quality air transportation services for persons with disabilities. So that's the overall, hope. So that, I won't go in depth with that, because we already have reported a lot on the seats. We know that Delta has a model. We know that the universities are pretty close to coming up with some suggestions and testing. So on that. There is a new rule, and this one just came out. So airplane restrooms, they're trying to make these accessible. So this is the mind-blowing thing. Airplane restrooms to become more accessible for wheelchair users. Single aisle airplanes have not been required to be wheelchair accessible, but new rules will mandate changes, and this is how they're going to do it. So the Department of Transportation announced new rules this week intended, I think this was last week, to make many airline restrooms more accessible for people in wheelchairs. New single aisle airplanes will be required to be large enough so a male in the 95th percentile of weight can approach, enter, and maneuver as necessary to use the aircraft lavatory. The new rules are only for new aircrafts. And usually airlines use their airplanes for 12 to 15, 17 years. So hopefully airlines will start to retire some of their airplanes and purchase the new aircrafts with accessible bathrooms. Now, I don't know what these companies are going to do, especially Boeing and the other companies, because they probably have several aircrafts already done and already made and waiting to be sold. So what do they do now? Rip off the tail and start over? I just don't know. But they're going to have to probably, they're going to have to make the aisles wider, so that if we have to be unbuckled, that we were able to turn around and go down the aisle, first of all, to get to the bathroom. And then, to make that bathroom feasible and wide enough for us to get in there with our wheelchairs. So this is going to be quite the project. I'm sure Boeing is tearing their hair out right now with the new regulation, because they have to figure out the aisle first, and then they have to figure out the bathroom and what they're going to do with that. So new single aisle airplanes, we read that already. So it'll be interesting. The rule is authorized through the Air Carrier Access Act. So this is, it's a regulation. So it's down on paper. However, how fast is this going to happen? We don't know, because it's all dependent on the purchase of new planes. And new planes who have a bathroom that they have been able to adapt. They're probably going to either have to rip out the last seats of the plane, I have no idea, to make these bathrooms an appropriate size. The lavatory should be big enough to have the passenger, the onboard wheelchair, and a person attendant entirely enclosed inside the door when the door is closed. It should be possible for the passenger on the onboard wheelchair to pass through the lavatory door a sufficient distance into the lavatory to accomplish a transfer from the onboard wheelchair to the toilet seat. The rules for double aisle airplanes state. So I don't know. Making airplanes more accessible has long been an issue. Yes, it has. The group All Wheels Up reports that many wheelchair users are concerned about flying due to the risk of injury or damage to their wheelchairs. The group also says because there is generally not a dedicated seat for wheelchair users, accommodating someone in a wheelchair can delay flights by an average of 16 minutes. 16 minutes. The delay can cause over $1,000 in cost to airlines, All Wheels Up said. So there it is, folks, in black and white. So it's going to be interesting with these bathrooms. I would say the companies who make airplanes, they should, start now. I don't know. They're probably going to have to take a saw, rip off the tail, and start over. Why did it take this long? I have no idea. But, it's just no date, no deadline, no nothing. So I'm just hoping that it happens soon. In one of the articles, the people, it was Kamala Harris and Buttigieg and some other people, but, the people from All Wheels Up and other organizations told them, people in wheelchairs, when we fly, we have to hold it. Basically, it's like, period. We have to hold it. We have to not drink any water. We have to not do this and not do that to be able to fly. So I think that was a eye-opener for them, to figure out, okay, how do people fly right now, and how can we make this better? How can we make it just? How can we make it, that our experience is less of a pain, and, we need to get from point A to point B. It's like, yes, a lot of people are using trains, but that's not exactly a solution either. So anyway, that's where the things stand for now. I can only hope that airlines truly work on this as soon as possible, to realize that we are consumers as well, that we also have families, businesses, that we need to get from point A to point B. It's like, how hard is it to come to that conclusion? So this is what Buttigieg, stated. Traveling can be stressful enough without worrying about being able to access a restroom. Yet today, millions of wheelchair users are forced to choose between dehydrating themselves before boarding a plane or avoiding air travel altogether. we are proud to announce this rule that will make airplane bathrooms larger and more accessible, ensuring travelers in wheelchairs are afforded the same access and dignity as the rest of traveling public. So, I'm glad that they are aware, the sacrifices we have to make to be able to travel and to fly. And I have no words. It's 2023. But all we can do is keep the pressure on. That is the biggest thing we can do, keep the pressure on, to continue to ask the questions, to continue to file for, you have to replace my wheelchair. You broke it. But I think the things that are going to happen first is the training for staff to figure out a way that our wheelchairs are not broken. I think they might have to strap our wheelchairs down somehow in the cargo bay, so that, or a specific area of the cargo bay for wheelchairs, so that they are protected from everything falling on top of it, and to keep it in one piece. I don't know why that's so hard, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how things progress. It'll be interesting to see what happens first. Is it the seat or the bathroom and then the seat? Or will it be the aisle first and then the bathroom? There are no dates on this, folks. There are no dates. So we just have to keep on top of it, keep on looking at the news, keep on watching, and hopefully at some point we will be able to fly comfortably and in a timely manner, just like anyone else, and not to have to hold it. And it's not fair overall. And I'm sure some people have gone through some harrowing issues while flying. It just has no words. But as I always say, it's some of that and all of that we need to continue to put pressure on and make sure that these things happen. The rule is on the paper, it's been signed, so it's up to us now and the Department of Transportation to continue the project so they push them through, and for the Department of Transportation to check with the garages, with Boeing and the other companies, and see what they're doing. Where are they at? What can they do? The government has offered money to help these companies make these changes. So it's not like it's going to cost them millions and they can't do it. No, the government is offering millions to help them get this done. So they might complain, they might squirm, they might whatever, but it's going to be fine. I think if the garage that creates this airplane that'll be accessible puts their 5 cents and the government puts in their 5 cents, they can get it done. Where there's a will, there's a way. So, and we already have history of a president who always flew with his wheelchair. So I'm not going to say who it is. You're going to have to look it up. But he did fly with his wheelchair. So this is mainly for the United States, unfortunately. But once one country starts to improve things, other countries will follow. So, the first model that was made and put into an exhibit was in London with Delta. So in England, Delta started working on this idea. They have put their seat in an exhibit, and I'm sure they have to do a little bit more testing to make sure that it'll work, and then they have to get permission to use it in their aircrafts. And once they do that, hopefully other airlines will say, hey, how's it going with that chair? What do you think of it? could we purchase some? So, and if it's all working okay. But I think that Delta has taken the lead, and I'm grateful to them for doing that, because politics just gets in the way, I think. So we'll see. We'll just have to wait and see, and I will stay on top of this and let you know what's going on or what's not going on. And see who will be the first one to fly in these new seats, who will be the first one to be able to get to the bathroom in an airplane. Do you want to be number one? Do you want to be the first one? Anyway, it's funny and it's not, as we know. So anyway, I hope you have a good week. And I just want to let you know that I'm doing a little bit better. We're working on my diet and that kind of stuff. So I'm feeling a little bit better today, a little bit more positive about it. So we'll see how it all goes. But a nutritionist has been assigned to me, so we'll work it out. So I'll be here as always. I'm hoping that you will come around as well. And I'll see you in the next one.